Hey, what's up, YouTube? We're Zach and Rock from Squadcast.fm.
Thanks for checking out our video recorded on Squadcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Hope you enjoy the video. We're back, Zach.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Great. A lot of activity in our category.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a different episode today, but we wanted to kind of provide some perspective the way we see things within podcasting, within technology, and specifically within the category that we're working to define and clearly articulate, how we see that landscape evolving over time. So it's going to be a fun episode. We'll keep it pretty quick, but to give you a preview, we're going to touch on kind of where we saw the category kind of before it was a category. We've been at this about 5 years, so kind of like looking backwards at when we started, how we saw recording podcasts remotely when we first started. Jump forward to now where we are as a category and how that's being defined by Squadcast and others, as well as looking forward of how we see the category evolving and all in all, what that means for you podcasters and content creators. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
Indeed it is. So yeah, to kick it off, like where we started, honestly, we didn't even know that we were a part of a category or that we would have this opportunity to actually to define a category, to be the leader in the category. Those are all certainly things that I think, we have high ambitions for ourselves and always thought Squadcast could really be a great and meaningful company. But, at the time it was more so like remote podcasting was like a niche within a growing niche of podcasting. But, not everybody's going to need to or want to record their show remotely. But if they weren't able to to access the same room or be in a studio or anything like that, but still wanted to have that conversation, we wanted to be that option that people could rely on to record their shows and not have to sacrifice quality. That's how we got here. But, and we always we always expected that podcasting would grow in popularity, and so would remote collaboration, remote work. So that's where we saw that, okay, we have a shot at having a great business here. But I think one of the things that you and I are starting to realize, Zach, is that the opportunity for remote content production, which is the category that we see ourselves defining and aspire to win at, to be the leader at, is much more significant than we initially expected, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this has been a journey of experimentation and proving ourselves wrong or proving ourselves right and not taking the results of those experiments too personally, and finding a way to, add value and provide a meaningful service to podcasters. Like our mission is to amplify collaboration. And yeah, it didn't stop us that we thought this was like a niche within a niche. We thought that was cool. We were like, oh, that's what like the advice is for indie podcasters starting out, right? Like find your niche and then niche down again and then niche down again, and you find an audience and work that. But like, I think that's very much what our approach was. And a few things have been evolving at the same time that we have been evolving. And that's what's super cool here is how we got from that like really small niche to the category remote content production, or RCP, right, as we see it, and helping to define that through the innovations of the technology that we provide to podcasters and content creators. So it's been a fun journey, and in a lot of ways feels like we're still just getting started. It's early days, I think, for podcasting, for remote content production, and just content creation in general. It's very exciting times.
It's exciting. I do agree with you. Somehow we keep saying that we feel like we're just getting started, and I still feel that way, absolutely. However, competition is also heating up. There's no denying that too. And I think that's one of the reasons that we wanted to have this conversation is we're getting asked about, hey, what do you think about so-and-so doing this or so-and-so doing that? And how does that, just trying to get our thoughts on it. So we thought, well, we have a podcast, so why don't we share our thoughts on that? So what are your thoughts on like the current state of our category, remote content production? What's been going on recently?
Yeah. So we're Squadcast isn't an island. We're not just kind of one service that's out here. Thankfully, podcasters have options. That being a range between, like when we first started, it was like Skype. Now that's been replaced with Zoom. Um, and then, respect to Zencaster, was around for, I think, about a year before we started. And then I think about mid last year, we saw Riverside come into the picture and, have a lot of great momentum and really providing, interesting services to podcasters. We, of course, have our own unique vision long term for what this can be. And that's really where it comes to how we are defining this category of remote content production. But it is something that is being kind of, not that we're necessarily collaborating with those other companies on what this could be, but because of the competition, we're listening to our customers. Thankfully, that's a big element of our culture at Squadcast. I'm not sure if it is an element of culture at these other companies, but we practice listening to podcasters and our customers, and that's really what informs the vision that we use to deliver unique experiences on Squadcast. Um, we, of course, don't necessarily have any influence over what our competition does and vice versa, but we are competing with each other, and we want to serve podcasters. And I think the gist here is that podcasting overall is a very collaborative space, and we've said this a lot on the podcast that if you look at any category, right, the top 10 shows like interview each other and collaborate and share guests and things like that. And there's a similar spirit amongst the tech companies that also serve content creators and podcasting. So that's really where it's exciting. But I think we are, of course, working to provide unique experiences that are different and provide platform for podcasters to create content remotely. And that's where the name of the category comes from, remote content production. And what do you think? I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, at first, to be honest, and that's what we're big on here at Squadcast, is not only listening but also being transparent with what we're thinking and what's going on. It doesn't feel good to hear about like a new entrant into the space and have people like, I mean, it's good for us to know, and it's honestly something that we try not to focus on too much on a day to day, but also you got to be aware of what's going on in your space and stuff like that. And of course, because we're so engaged with customers, we hear a lot about what's going on, and oftentimes they're the first people who tell us about something new or something that they heard or something like that. So we're definitely made aware, but so it doesn't feel good to like hear it at first. But what I've really learned to embrace is the fact that we are competing with other what seem to be pretty darn good companies, and we definitely can relate in that the essence of what we're trying to accomplish is similar. I think how we go about it and the level of execution is definitely where we'll differentiate ourselves. But for me, it's like to be in something that matters. We're working in a category that matters. Oftentimes with a startup, it's not just because your product isn't good or your team isn't good. It's because your market isn't really worth it to people. It doesn't matter that much. And I feel like now more than ever, we are a part of a category that matters, where we were just this little part of podcasting. And don't get me wrong, we were totally excited to be that part and thought that our part would only get bigger over time. However, it does seem to be far bigger than we expected. And this is, I think, a recurring theme on the most recent episodes of the founders part of this show is like just audio is blowing up. It's a great time to be in audio. It's a great time to be a content creator. Companies are really trying to make you look and sound your best and help you get paid. And that's what we're going to do. And I think that's where, again, I embrace it because it forces us to be a little bit better. I mean, in all honesty, we're always really just competing with previous versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And we set high expectations and have a ton of ambition internally on our team. So I don't think we need the competition to make us want to improve and make a better experience for our customers every day. However, it does help a little bit to know that someone's like, right behind you and they're serious about it too. It makes you think a little bit more clearer, makes you, less mistakes will happen, I think. And I think it'll only force us to be better, and overall just this space to be better. And I think who eventually wins from that, or who should win if we're all doing our jobs. That's the creator, that's the podcaster. So I think it's a good thing, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and to draw a parallel here, it's similar to like other categories too. We can draw parallels, right? Like Apple and Microsoft. Like who wins in those competitions? It's us on these devices. Like we get faster devices, we get more specs, all of that stuff, all the features, right? And I think the same is true to your point about podcasters. So it's really an honor to serve podcasters, and like you said, we very much have a approach of competing with the only like previous versions of Squadcast. We try to get better and better and better.
Kaizen.
Yeah, exactly, and thinking through opportunities to improve and always being open to the feedback. And thankfully, podcasters are very articulate and essentially speak for a living, so that's why we focus on listening, and that's really what's led us to this place today of defining remote content production. And how would we define that? Like maybe we should kind of paint that picture. Like as we said, we started with podcasting, we started with audio, and we have added video recording, and that's why we use the word content instead of podcast, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a podcast. So to be transparent, we serve audiobook creators, we serve people producing videos, not just for YouTube, but even like studio productions, and of course podcasters, where we have our focus. So that's really where that's where the content word comes from. Production, right, is the middle phase of the workflow. It's not pre-production, it's not post-production, it's production. It's the actual creation of the content. And because Squadcast is a technology-based platform, we really deliver an experience. The magic comes to life when you connect with somebody who's not in the same location as you. And it might be on the other side of the world. We help podcasters connect with guests and record in over 130 countries around the globe. And that's incredible that we get to serve so many people. So that's really where remote content production comes from as like a name for this category. And there are other elements to it as well, right? We started with audio. We added video recording at the end of January. I think Riverside was the first to add live streaming to that, or there's also Ecamm Live was prior to that. And we have some very exciting plans for what live streaming can mean for Squadcasters creating on our platform. So that's really where we see things evolving, and that's what gets into our roadmap. And if you're curious about that, we have a past episode with I believe a conversation between myself and our community manager Ariel, talking about all the things that we have planned for 2021 and beyond even. So that's really where it comes down to our vision, the way we see things, but also constantly revising that and being open to the feedback and kind of the developments that we're seeing, both within our category, in our broader category of like podcasting, and even broader than that, like technology and remote. There's a lot of inspiration that comes from all over the place, and it's just incredibly meaningful to me that we get to serve podcasters in our mission of amplifying collaboration.
Well said. Great stuff.